Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Modern Investing on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and let me introduce today's guests. I will start with Dr. Milan Sambarok. Welcome to the show, Milan.
Thank you for inviting me. I hope I can contribute.
Okay, I hope so. And Jim Eat from It Foundation. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you for having me, Sasha. Delighted to be here.
And we have also today Irene Parker. Welcome to the show, Irene.
Hi, nice to be here. Thank you.
I can't list all your titles and all your achievements. You have so many of them, Irene. But the main thing that you've done very well with investments, and I'd like to mention today's Wednesday, as usual. Market is up, although not all markets. Dow Jones is not doing that well today. S&P, Milan will tell us about S&P because that's his specialty. And and Jim, you think that leadership is coming back to tech stocks, to Magnificent Seven?
Well, it does seem to be that way. The tech stocks that I follow are up. The one I would call attention to is AMD. I was not that impressed with AMD for a while there because I think I own too much of it. But I'm really impressed with the pivot that they've done with the AI and preparing for that. And even the old dusty Intel is up and seems to be on an upward trend. But you will talk more about NVIDIA. But the ones that I follow and invest in are doing well, even though the overall market is pretty choppy right now. And I think that that's going to continue. I still think we're on the cusp of an AI growth period. And although we've profited handsomely so far, I think there's more to come. I don't think we've reached the high point at all.
Well, don't forget about upcoming September 30th, which is the end of the three quarters report, and there is a certain window dressing is doing quite well. And I would think, especially about NVIDIA, it's not just the window dressing. I just read some materials about data centers, and they are all swallowing anything what NVIDIA can produce. The older chips are waiting now for this new chip, but they need to stuff today. They cannot wait even a couple more weeks. No, they need it today, right now. There is no negotiations about the price because this product, what NVIDIA supplies, is available only from NVIDIA, nowhere else. So this is put NVIDIA sort of, okay, it exposes it maybe to antitrust investigations or anything like this. But what can you do if you are the only supplier of the stuff that everybody needs? So I would dismiss that really and just enjoy the ride, actually. I bought today even another 500 shares. We'll see how we'll do. As soon as on my fund account, of course, I'm talking about, as soon as I'll get any free money as a result of some other stocks, for example, they went up, or I made some money on options, so I put it into NVIDIA. Anyway, I think it will be 150 stocks before $150 before the end of the year.
Question, how likely is it that other suppliers will come into the market?
Oh, in 5-6 years, they will for sure.
It is happening. NVIDIA has the market share right now, and there will be some encroachment upon that. But they have such a lead. It's going to be very hard. But that's why I think AMD and other chip manufacturers have really done a good job pivoting. But NVIDIA has certainly led the way, and I think will be the leader going forward for the foreseeable future.
See, the companies like, who are the main customers of NVIDIA? We are talking about Google, we are talking about Meta, we are talking about Microsoft, we are talking about who is who in high tech. And they are not going to risk to source supply from some other manufacturers if there are any, because to buy NVIDIA proven products is a no-brainer. and the people who operate with multi-billion dollars budgets, they are not going to play a game. It's like, remember old style,
Yeah.
say 50 years ago, where the company needed to buy some office equipment. They were buying IBM, not because IBM was the best, because nobody could be fired for buying IBM
That's
products.
exactly right, Sasha. We did that at Schwab. We had a big architectural program, and we were going to go beyond IBM. But there were so many managers that I would talk to that were just IBM oriented because it was safe. You know, like as you say, if they bought IBM, they weren't going to be fired. That's a great way of putting it.
Milan, so tell us about your strategy on S&P 500. How is it doing?
Well, I'm quoting David Svensson here,
Hmm.
who led Yale's endowment fund.
Can we invite him on our program?
He's no longer alive.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but the endowment, Yale endowment, was far the best performing university endowment of any. And he suggested not to pick stocks and not to time markets, because if a security is so good and you have the good reasons why you should own NVIDIA, somebody also has good reasons to sell it. Otherwise, you couldn't buy it. Can both of you be right at the same time? So that's why David Svensson suggests, instead of stock picking and market timing, to own the American economy as a whole. And a great way to do that is to buy an exchange traded fund which tracks the all American businesses, the major ones, and that would be the S&P 500. And
Milan, but wait a sec. There is the same logic would apply. If nobody sells S&P 500 and everybody loves it, then how you can get that ETFs?
well, you buy it from the stockbroker.
Stockbroker sells what his customers are selling. Stockbroker doesn't know.
No, market makers. You get it.
Market makers.
That's
What
right.
if market makers refuse to sell this S&P 500?
It's somehow it seems to work. Not picking stocks and not timing markets works, because doing so also works in the short run for some people. So that's why I own nothing but SPY, which represents the American market. And yes, I mentioned previously that empires have a 100% failure rate, but the failure of the American empire is nowhere in sight yet. So
Milan, let me ask you a question. Okay, so you are a big fan of ETF by the name S&P 500, okay?
Yeah.
Now, do you support the idea of any other ETFs of that, or is that only ETFs?
There are others. Yeah, there is a number of ETFs which represent the S&P 500, and none of them come to mind right now, but you can look them up. The reason they don't come to mind is because I don't pay attention to them. But just a little aside, that you mentioned Intel Corporation earlier today. And Intel Corporation, one of the founders was Andrew Grove. And Andrew Grove was kicked out of Hungary because he was Jewish. His company recently, in many years, has been making more money than the Hungarian gross national product.
That's so true, Milan. But I wanted to ask you, because you're not only just owning SPY, the ETF, you're selling covered calls on it, and that's really your approach is more sophisticated than just buying and holding.
That, by the way, would work as well as the American economy, which has been the best performing investment, unless you cherry pick. Yes, there have been stamps that are worth more than the American economy than SPY has done, and there have been coins, and there have been real estate and so on. But unless you cherry pick, the American economy has done better than any other investment in over 100 years. And like I mentioned, empires have a 100% failure rate, but the failure of the American empire is nowhere near in sight. So yes, I do sell covered calls on SPY because it tends to be so profitable and easy to do once you know how to do it. And so it's become recently possible to sell covered calls on a security in the morning, expiry date the same day, at the end of the day. And that has been possible only with a small number of stocks and only a couple of days a week. Now it's possible with several stocks, and I don't pay attention to any of those. I just go with SPY, and I place covered calls. Sorry, I sell covered calls first thing in the morning on all my holdings, and uh, expiry date the same day in the evening. And I practice dentistry. Dentists make good money. I'm making better money now doing that, and I can recommend that for anybody. Now, if you will allow me to talk about another subject for a minute,
Oh,
and
can I ask a question first about your strategy? There's the old 60-40 rule. If you're 40 years old, you should have 60% in stocks. And so would you feel that writing a covered call strategy would sort of replace having the bonds in your portfolio?
good question, Irene. And in my portfolio, yes. In our portfolio, yes, because bonds pretty well all the time. You lend the government some money or a company some money, and at the end of the period, you get your $1,000 back, except it doesn't buy as much as it did when you lent it to them. So we uh, encourage people never to own bonds. There are no advantages. You can have cash or near cash in place of bonds. Cash will lose its value too, but not nearly the same rate as bonds do. So that's my answer to your question. But I wanted to address another subject, and it has to do this program ought to pay some attention to aging. 70% or more of adults want to age in their homes. And frequently, there's major issues associated with aging at home. And so we talk about child proofing a house. We should also talk about age proofing a house. Physically, the homes might have stairs that older people wouldn't be able to climb. The doors may be too narrow for wheelchairs to go around, and so on. So we should talk about age proofing a home. But this program is about investing. So I'd like to talk for a minute about investing sensibly. For example, reverse mortgages are not a good idea much of the time. But if somebody is older and has a mortgage free house, that can often work well. And individuals in that category need to discuss this subject with their banker. The average
And
home.
their accountant.
Yes, somebody neutral.
Good point, Irene. Yeah. So the average age in the United States and Canada is about 40. The average age in some African countries is 17. They don't have to worry about age proofing their house, but we do. So now, a reverse mortgage is worth discussing with people who fall into that category. They're in their 70s, they have a mortgage free house. The average house in North America is worth about $250,000. So a reverse mortgage might make sense. As you say, Irene, people ought to discuss it with their accountant and their banker and their children as well. Adult children are often very smart. So that they ought to pay attention to that. So the resources need to be there. It costs something like $20,000 to $30,000 a year to have round the clock home care, which older people might need. So the resources have to be there. But more than that, those resources need to be managed well. And for them to be managed well, people ought to watch a program like this one. So
Hey,
people,
Milan.
it doesn't cost them anything.
Hey,
People,
Milan. Just really quickly along those same lines, I'm glad you brought that up and everything because age proofing is very much of an important issue. I'm actually dealing with that right now because, as Sasha knows, my dad is in the rehab center after having had heart surgery and everything. But right now, they're trying to figure out because he's got small steps, not a lot of steps, but how to make the steps more manageable for him to get up and down and even to age proof, as you just put it, the showers and everything. And
Yeah.
as his lady love put it, who's
Grab
a
bars.
member of the Jewish community as well, she can actually afford it, so she's able to help him because Medicare doesn't cover a lot of those things, unfortunately, and all along those lines. So, from an investment standpoint, how can we make sure that people that are younger than my dad, because dad's in his early 80s and everything, can be prepared should something like that happen in their lives?
well, the issues that you mentioned here, Mark, relate to the house itself. It has to be age proof. And I'm talking here about financial management. And so, in order for people to do that, the resources need to be in place. So they have to have started thinking about this much earlier in life, and then they have to manage it well. And to manage it well, they should listen to a program like ours, which doesn't cost them anything. Now, we tend not to trust things that cost anything. So I asked Sasha earlier today, why does he do this? Why does he run this program? And he said he does so to stay sharp. And I'll have to say the same thing. I'm involved with this group because you keep me sharp. And so, would you say the same is true for you, Irene? Why are you here?
My husband is locked behind me. He's 86. This is our idea of assisted living. So we are in a condo in Florida, but as a financial planner and an MBA, I was licensed to sell long-term care insurance. So it's something that can be discussed. We had it many years ago when the premium was $400 a year. But then with baby boomers flooding the market, that premium jumped to like 2,000 a year.
Yeah.
So I think, we've sort of beat the system, but I wasn't being facetious. This really is our our age proof condo, and it's worked out well for us. But I think that you're seeing so many seniors now, especially in Florida, with insurance premiums just going through the roof. With this condo, I mean, we have okay furniture, but they wanted to charge us $2,000 a year for inside the wall, insuring just our dishes and sofa here. I mean, it's ridiculous. So we don't have any insurance, I'm proud to say, except for medical, of course, and supplemental.
Uh,
Um,
what you say there, Irene, should apply to all. None of us should carry any insurance on things that we can afford to lose. I
and
have
replace.
and replace. If we can afford it, we don't need to insure it. I had a house for 35 years with a tennis court on it. I played tennis every day. The weather allowed it. And one day a storm came and blew a tree over on the tennis net. And the insurance paid for me to replace it. $500. I was insuring myself for $500. Could I afford to lose $500? Keep that profit yourself. If you can afford to lose something, do not insure it.
Milan, I appreciate bringing this subject on our show. Uh, what I would say is that covers many issues that have very little to do with investing and more with the social side of the subject
Yes,
and
yes.
medical. And it's also very individual thing. I mean, some people don't need any insurance whatsoever because they have more than enough money to pay for accidental things and so on. Some other people say, no, 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 we have to be insured for that much,
Right.
and some other people believe they need to be insured for that much and so much. And so it's very individual. It's a lifestyle issue, it's a social issue, but I don't believe it's investment issue.
I disagree. I disagree.
Okay.
I had a client who was an attorney, and he won a lawsuit of $33 million. So he had a windfall of, and I took the check to the bank for him for like 8 million. And but I met with his estate planning lawyer, and they recommended whole life insurance for very complicated reasons that were over my head. But and you become self-insured. So when you're young and you die at 40 and you're making 100,000 a year,
Right.
you
Right.
need. So they always say buy term and invest the difference.
Exactly. Exactly.
But I think I was shocked that there was a place that anyone would ever need whole life insurance. And then people were selling universal life insurance like an investment. I'm not a fan of annuities, which is a life insurance product, but I do feel that insurance and even your long-term care insurance is part of your entire investment estate plan.
The best thing to do with insurance is to own shares in an insurance company if you're going to pick individual stocks. So,
Another alternative to buy whole life insurance is to buy Bitcoin, and you might as well do even better than to buy whole life insurance.
But Milan, you said you don't believe in bonds, but the people that had bonds, if they went in 6 months ago and got a half a point drop, they saw a nice pop in the price of their bonds.
it's very easy to find situations that work in the short term. Picking stocks can work for the day, for the week, for the month, even for the year, but doesn't compare to owning the American economy as a whole. So you just quoted an example that worked under these particular circumstances, but long term.
Well, except if you were in the Jimmy Carter years with those very depressed brokers for 10 years and you got on the right side with bonds, at the 12% interest rate, and those interest rates went down. And as I was trained, if you buy the goose with the golden egg, you're not going to complain about the price of the goose. So the high yield municipal bonds, Nuveen, Jim, you're familiar with Nuveen probably. I think Nuveen had some exchange traded funds as well, but we've done some pretty good things with bonds over the years.
So some can do it. By the way, Jimmy Carter, I think, just celebrated his 100th birthday.
Yes.
Yeah.
We say he's the best ex-president we've ever had.
Well, Abraham Lincoln will give him a run for his money.
That's right.
Well, I think that there's the demographic issue of people, the baby boomers are aging. And one of the things that people my age have been dealing with was their aging parents and what to do with them. And, we have to, sometimes they can provide for themselves, but sometimes they rely on their kids now. And, the kids become the parents in some way. So what I would say is that invest in yourself, invest early and often, and then you will be in a position to self-fund your own retirement and to perhaps take care of people that you are going to be responsible.
And don't be afraid to spend your children's inheritance.
That's what my ex-father-in-law said. He said, being of sane mind, I spent it.
The tax expert that I used to give seminars with for the SBA, SBDC, he said you should plan to die with $5 in your pocket.
What about dying in debt? That's even better.
That might be even better.
But in terms of investing, I just think that I think if you're young now, I still don't know how people get started in the market in the San Francisco Bay Area. Housing prices are so expensive, and we talked about insurance. It's fire insurance is prohibitively expensive now because of the wildfires that we've had over the last several years. And I do think that it's very hard to get started, but investing in your home can be your primary investment early on. And when I bought this house that we live in now in 1995, I was told that I was overpaying, but of course I've made it's quadrupled in its value over the years. So I still think investing in your home first is good. But what I did when I was very young was every paycheck I invested some of it.
Absolutely.
And before I even saw it, because at that age if I saw it, I would spend it.
Pay yourself first. Pay yourself.
Pay yourself first, exactly. And I think that that's still true today. But tip of the hat to anybody who can get started and buy a home today.
Another thing that Americans can do is move to Canada.
It's too cold.
Absolutely, especially from Florida to move to Canada.
Yeah.
It's kind of risky. Although you will enjoy summer in Canada, you have a great season, say from May till mid-October. It's really, really very nice place to be.
I've heard from a friend Who left?
After that, I'm going for winter. I'm going south, but I'm not going to Florida. It's too bothersome. In Florida, see, the problem is that okay, you can rent some nice apartment
My
there.
wife and I go south
The
most winters.
problem is Florida. You have to live there. You have to go for shopping. You have to go. You need car, of course. There, you have to buy things. You have to prepare food. You have to clean up. You have to do. It's becoming. It's sort of like a way of life. The only thing is warmer than in Canada. Eh,
A
it's
friend
not
of
a good deal for me.
a friend of mine who
You're
left.
going to Aruba, all inclusive, 5 stars vacation, or you can do it San Martin. You can go even Dominican Republic. Some top hotels provide that. That's a real vacation. That's somehow
That's getting
at
away.
least my way to spend winter.
My way, good you said my way because we're all different. My wife and I go south. We go to Utah and we go to Colorado to ski, but that's south.
Oh, that's a different story. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not my.
Irene, how are you doing with the tropical storm that's turning into a hurricane?
We've had the outer shades up once or twice, but it looks like we're in Boca Raton
Uh-huh.
on the
Not on the Gulf
east
side.
side, so
Yeah.
we're not in the Panhandle area.
Right.
But
Irene, a friend of mine who lectures,
I'm not frozen.
Toronto endodontist who lectures in Florida in the winter, he said that your chances of getting shot in Florida are greater than your chances of getting COVID. What do you have to say about that?
Whoa.
I think your chances of getting shot are greater in a high school. I mean,
Oh,
it's just, someone posted on Facebook a circle, and at the top of the circle was shots, thoughts and prayers, let's do something about guns, nothing, crickets, and it's just this, thoughts and prayers don't mean anything, so I think America, well, you get Mark and I off on gun violence and our founding fathers. When you talk about the right to bear arms, they had muskets,
yeah,
not
and militia.
AK-47s,
Yeah.
so that's the problem I have.
The people who are
It's an American mindset. Every citizen in Switzerland owns a firearm. Every citizen. Every citizen, man and woman in Israel owns a firearm. And you don't hear these kind of things happening in those countries. The American mindset allows that. Yeah.
And the other thing is, the right to bear arms doesn't include nuclear weapons. All of your rights come with some constraints, and these even the semi-automatic weapons. We banned them for a while, and it was marvelous. But of course, the NRA, which is now pretty well suffered its own reputation issues. But they were powerful enough then to get that overturned. But I think that's a reasonable start. I think most Americans can get behind. You don't need an assault rifle to go hunting.
Yeah.
I used to belong to the NRA, and the issue discussed by the NRA, this was 40 years ago or more, was safety. They talked about safety more than anything else. They didn't insist on the right to bear arms so that you can have an AK rifle to go hunting. Yeah.
I got a quick question before y'all wrap up, and it exactly was an investment question, which I know Sasha will love and everything. But I was also going to tease Irene, because Irene, I used to work in Boca Raton too, and you do know that actually means mouth of the rat or something like that. So that's actually
Yes.
what the name means for Boca Raton and everything. But the question I was going to ask is, there are a number of people that are into hobbies as investments, and I know we talked about it before. I've got some friends that are into doll collecting. I know a young lady that was very much into like doll houses and things like that. I know some people that are into Barbies. I think that even I've talked to before on this show with Jim about people that are into stamps and everything. So how much of that is a solid investment even in your fund portfolio? Because I know some people that apparently are making some pretty good money even on some things that you would think would not be making them that much money, whether it's Barbie or whether it's Jedis or whatever from Star Trek and everything. But what is our thought about some of these fun type investments that people like to have as their hobbies and collectibles and making the money off of that?
Depends.
Well, I would say that just as I mentioned that I had a background in pharmaceuticals and biotechnology, so I was very comfortable with the other brokers in the office. I'd be the go-to for those stocks. It's the same thing with baseball cards. I mean, I can't imagine me wanting to go into investing in baseball cards or dolls or dollhouses. But if that's what you grew up with, if you grew up, in a small family business that sold dolls, you could probably make a lot of money with it. My sister-in-law actually had about 50 dolls. I don't know what that netted after she passed away, but I think baseball cards, don't they have like some real wheeling and dealing going on?
I'm still mad at my mother for throwing mine out, but
It depends on what the issue is, what you're dealing with. A violin, for example, the highest price ever paid for a violin was $16 million. And the violinist used it all his life as a tool. Now, where else do you get a tool which appreciates in value? I can tell you dental tools don't, and the carpenter's tools don't, and the plumber's tools don't, and a violinist is using it all the time, and then he sells it he bought it for the price of one Toronto house, and he sold it for the price of three Toronto houses.
Yeah,
And they used it as a tool the whole time.
but think about it. When a violinist gives a concert on Stradivarius worth $16 million, and there are 6,000 people listening to them, what's a dentist, even with the best tools? How many people are going to see the dentist operate on a root canal? What, 2 people? 3 maximum? So this is why there is a difference between violin and the dentist tools.
Well, I'm talking about the difference between violins and dolls and baseball cards.
No, but those can be collectibles and everything. But I'm just wondering, and Jim, maybe you got thoughts on this, and even you, Sasha, and everything. A lot of people have items that are worth a lot in their house, but they don't even bother to know what they are, and maybe they belong to relatives and everything. 'Cause how many people, we were talking about aging earlier, how many people actually know what their parents and their grandparents have, and then when those people die, they may wind up losing thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, because they didn't know the value of what their parents had collected and everything along those lines. So, what are your thoughts on that, Jim?
when I lived in New England, antiquing was the big thing, so people didn't know what they had, and so people that did know, bought low and sold high.
The easiest way to find out the value of all these things is to have a garage sale, auction style. Okay, so you have a piece of whatever you want to sell, offer it for $5, and you go from there. You'll see what you will get for it. I think this is the easiest way to do it. Okay, speaking about investment now, for my fund portfolio, I just added a new stock, which I was following for some time. Very good characteristics and ideas. The name of the stock is Vertiv, symbol VRT. It's a high-tech stock. It provides a product for basically when you are building data centers, for example, and you get all this NVIDIA products or so on, but somehow you have to install them, you have to connect them, you have to make them working, and that's what Vertiv is providing. So
in your fund portfolio.
Sorry?
In your fund portfolio.
Yeah, I'm talking only my core portfolio is untouched for last, I'd say, probably 5 years. I haven't touched it. The only thing is what I'm doing occasionally, I'm taking out dividends. That's the only thing what I'm doing.
Yeah. You need to live on something, yeah, right.
Just to have fun. For example, I'm preparing to my winter trips, okay? So I will take, I think by January 3rd or 4th, depends on what day of the week is, I will take out all dividends, whatever I collect for a year, and that will pay for at least one, maybe even more of my trips.
Well, and I just want to say adieu, because our show with Pod TV is Timeshare Solution or Surrender. We're the polar opposite of this show. So I have 6 people that have reached out defaulting on timeshare loans totaling about $400,000. So I'm going to have to leave, and I've got some scheduled calls coming up in 10 minutes that I need to prepare for. But thank you for having me on the show. It's kind of, it's woken up the sleeping giant. I mean, this was so much a part of my life for so many years, and I've been so happy with the American funds that maybe they're not as good as they were when I started 20 years ago, but I can sleep at night. And you may lose a little on the upside, but they certainly protect you on the downside. Jim, would you agree with that?
I would. And also, there's an article in the Wall Street Journal today about buying bonds when the interest rates are coming down.
Yes.
So, check that
Oh,
out.
okay. Well, enjoyed the day. Thank you
All
so
right.
much,
All right,
everybody.
Amy.
So much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Jim and Sasha, we have a old-time person that popped by to say hello to Jim and everything, so who maybe they'll pop on our show, but Willie used to be a regular, so just wanted to acknowledge him listening and watching us and everything, because he used to be a regular here on Pod TV.
Love to hear from him.
Irene left. I really wanted to ask her, with her background,
Hug a tree.
I'm sort of surprised at her dedication to the time sharing issues, because to me, time sharing is one of the most losing propositions. That it's, first of all, there is absolutely no way to make any money out of it. It's a question how much money and how quickly you will lose. It's only one issue there.
Yeah.
And yet she's doing her best trying to help people who got into problems and lost all their money or some of their money. And she's very dedicated and she's doing the best she can. But, the end result is very dismal. It's nothing to do with Irene. She's a very capable person, as we all know. But I'm surprised that she's dedicated to this issue. But that's her choice.
The only people that I know that bought timeshares and were happy with them were people that didn't care about the money, and they just wanted a place that they could go to and were familiar with, and they could call their home.
Yeah, that must be the answer. I was going to ask you, why do people buy timeshare?
Yeah.
If the familiarity.
It was not an investment, but it was the comfort. Yes, the feeling
It's
of
not, Jim, I'm sorry, it's not even a comfort. When you find out that the time slot that you have, at that point, it's not available. Okay, you can go in 6 months. You can go in 6 months, but it's not available. Now, in 6 months, the airline doubled their prices. So to get there, you have to pay much more in airfare. Oh, maintenance fees. Oh, yeah, how about that? You pay maintenance fee whether you visited the senior property or you didn't visit. So this is a draining, mind-boggling situation where instead of call your travel agent and say, I want to go there, I want to go this airline, I want to say 5-star hotel, I want to have a special room, I want to have, you just tell
I'm not arguing that. It's certainly the way I do it.
Pay the money. You're going there exactly where you want to go, when you want to go, which airline, how, business class or whatever. Why would you tie up yourself with this time sharing?
The people who put together the timeshare are making the money, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, the people who put it together.
Yeah, they're hustling. For their hustle, they're doing their money.
But there's a lot of kind of investments that go on that are, I agree with you, they're not really investments, whether it's timeshare. I know that on some shows, including I think your show before, I am not a big fan of what I call those business coaches kind of hustles and everything. Grant Cardone is one where they would sit there and have people pay tons of money and give them tips on how they are going to make all kinds of investments and everything. And as you know, Jim, sometimes those things can run about $1,000 a day or $10,000 a day, and you're getting quote unquote experts telling you how to make money and everything, but really all they're doing is getting you to buy their books, their videos, and a lot of their other hustles and everything. So it's
that,
like Trump University?
Yes, kind of like Trump University.
You know that monkeys throwing darts at the stock quotation page, and their performance compared to experts cannot be distinguished. They've tried. The Wall Street Journal tried it, and couldn't tell them apart. So
I must confess that I'm a very lucky monkey. Because the stock I've just mentioned, Vertiv, I just checked now, it's up almost 3.5% today. And since I bought it a few days ago, it's up about 10%. So here is a very lucky monkey, I must admit.
You're a lucky monkey. There's no doubt about that. You make a lot of money, particularly on
Cheeky
Nvidia and a
monkey.
number of other things that you've been very good at, and you're very talented in what you do. There's no doubt about that. That's why you're as successful as you are, and all along those lines. I am actually going to make a little bit of a side joke and everything since we're doing the monkey thing and all of that. I kind of mentioned it during the World Edition, Sasha, but I imagine that there's a lot of people that are going to make a ton of money over the next couple of months and everything. It's going to be over something simple and very stupid and everything. But as I mentioned earlier, there is a new internet sensation that's coming out of Australia called Pesto the Penguin. I guarantee you that right now somebody in California is making little puppets of Pesto the Penguin and will probably be selling tons of Pesto the Penguin dolls and everything right now, because I guarantee you somebody in California, somebody in New York, somebody around the world is making Pesto mini figurines, and they're going to start selling them for a arm and a leg and everything, and make.
I know parents that wanted to kill Barney, the purple dinosaur or whatever. The kids loved it and they wanted more things.
Mark, I would like to ask you something. The crypto is about to run to unbelievable highs. So for your friend, would be a good time now to lecture us about crypto. So first of all, he will be right on the money. We are going to be educated about it because I run into, as much as I know about crypto, I ran a couple of weeks ago by great difficulties. A friend of mine who asked me to explain crypto, and I've done all my best, whatever I could, and I was not able to convince him about even concept itself. Like what?
Yeah, blockchain.
What is it? Can you go to buy a cup of coffee with crypto or something? Okay, can I do my groceries or something? I told him, yeah, in under some circumstances, but I was not successful because he says, Sasha, thank you.
Well, I'll reach out to Nicole, like I
You
said
are
before, the young lady as well as the young gentleman, but I'll reach out to both of them again. I sent out the email says I put both you and Jim. I don't know if I had Milan in it, but I'll gladly send it out to those folks that are in that space to see if they want to jump on this show to defend their positioning and why they do what they do and everything along those lines. Now, I have heard, and maybe Jim can correct me if I'm wrong, there are certain stores and certain businesses that are allowing you to buy stuff in crypto and everything along those lines. So there are certain ones, but they are the minority and not the majority. But there are a couple of franchises that are allowing that.
What are these franchises?
I got to remember them, but I want to say that like even Barnes and Noble and some of the other ones have said that they were open to crypto. I think some of the grocery stores have said that they were open to crypto purchases. So I can look it up, but I do know that there were a couple of major franchises that said that they have been open into crypto, including some arts organizations and stuff like that. So there are some people that are allowing you to buy in crypto. As a matter of fact, I think that if I go up to the corner store,
didn't someone just get sentenced to jail for the work in the FTX, was it? Something like that.
Yeah, FTX got in trouble.
Yeah. And she cooperated. She cooperated with.
She only got 2 years.
Yeah. And that's why she's got only 2 years. Can you imagine if she wouldn't cooperate? She would have got all 22 years, I'm pretty sure. But all of this.
Wild West, I'm not a fast gunslinger, so.
You're not a fast gunslinger. You're not Zorro, or you're not the guy from the. Okay, Corral.
And maybe when I was younger, I would have had the ego to do it, but I'm not even remotely tempted now.
Whatever direction we're going in, a computer will help us get there faster, and that includes the crooks. They're better at it now.
Well, this is exactly the
my
reason
goodness, yes, Milan.
Trump got into crypto. And you're talking about the crooks. Don't forget the major crook of all times. It's a Donnie. Donald Trump now goes with all his families into crypto, and they're all becoming expert, and they're explaining to each other what is crypto and what to do.
What's the next con? Yeah.
Well, it's already there. It's he wants to take it public. Actually, his stock is going down from $70-some. Now it's slightly over 10, and even now it's a great short. The problem is it's very difficult to locate that stock. It's not widely held stock, so your broker may charge you arm and a leg for short term. That's why it's very difficult. But of course, it's on its way to pennies. I think.
Hey, to answer your question, because I just looked it up and everything, apparently these are, I went to bitpay.com, but I'm not going to name them all, but apparently DoorDash, Domino's, Home Depot, Spotify, Lowe's, Uber, GameStop, and Burger King and AMC all will accept payments in cryptocurrency.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, you can get a crypto app, so it's like it's like
Wait a
cash.
moment. I have to correct myself. Is today Trump Media and Technology Group is up $1.23. It's now $14.01.
Okay.
So it's pretty good day for its stock. So if somebody bought it at $70 and still holds it, maybe there is some hope that from $14 it may go up to $15. And so therefore they will lose a little bit less money.
This is actually scary, Sasha, because it says, as I'm looking at some of these, American Cancer Society, which is a cancer research, they will accept money in crypto, as will Airbnb. So if you want to go to an Airbnb, apparently, and Adidas and Against Malaria Foundation. So apparently there's some foundations that will accept crypto money as well. So apparently there are quite a few companies that will accept it as a form of payment.
Oh, you just named about 3 of them. You say there are quite a few.
Well,
Yeah,
they don't
there's like
crypto,
50 plus
I'm sure.
BitPlay.
For a while, it was Tesla who would allow you buy cars and pay by crypto, but he canceled it very quickly in about a month. I don't know why there. Maybe nobody bought these cars for crypto, or maybe they bought too many cars and
Yes.
paid crypto.
Do you own a Tesla, James?
I do.
Is it the best car you ever owned?
It is.
Every Tesla owner says that, regardless of how it's bought or sold.
Yeah,
I wouldn't buy another one though.
a friend of mine drives a Tesla. He's
Why
got
not?
Because of Musk. I mean, I didn't care about him when I bought it. I was very intrigued by the technology, and the technology is only going to get better. The battery, being able to recycle them and to last longer, the mileage is going to improve. Everything. So now there are more competitors out there, and I think
all that is true. But you say you wouldn't buy another one. You might not need to buy another one.
I haven't had to have it repaired, and I haven't gone to a gas station in 5 years. So
Nobody's made a battery claim on a Tesla yet. The batteries are guaranteed, I think, for 8 years or a very long time, and nobody's made a claim on it yet. And mine has an aluminum body, so it's not going to rust. You might not need another one.
Mm-hmm.
But the competition is there, and I think that's what's great about when we talk about investments. We always have to talk about who are the competitors, and that's why when we were cherry picking some stocks, we were thinking like who's really got the lead in this, and then AI in particular, NVIDIA stood out. So Sasha and I were investors early, and I sold too early, but I bought again when they split, and so far it's up. So. I'm not complaining, and I own a lot of AMD, and that was because my wife worked for Xilinx, and Xilinx was acquired, and so that gave us more stock than I wanted at the time. But now I'm looking back, I'm grateful that we have it because AMD is coming back strong. So
actually, very interesting situation about NVIDIA. What's happened about a month and a half ago? All so-called specialists and talking heads on TV and newspapers, everybody was talking NVIDIA down. It's overpriced.
yeah.
It's run ahead of itself. It's doing this and that, and there were nothing but negative comments. And to tell the truth, the stock went down substantially. It was 135, 130. It went down all the way to 100 something, 105. It touched even $95 at one point. So it was 105. And then you see now a period of consolidation when I'm wondering, where are all these talking heads? Where are all these? So the stock is no longer overpriced. It was overpriced at 105 But
Uh-huh.
today for 125, it's
120.
not longer overpriced. What's happened? Where are all those idiots? I don't see them.
No telling
No.
and everything. Hey Jim, I do have a quick question for you because I mentioned that I have that friend that drives a Tesla as well, and they love their Tesla, but they actually have two Teslas because they got one for themselves and one for their wife. It's a dear friend of mine that's a photographer and everything. So I was wondering, did you just get one Tesla or did you get two Teslas and everything with you?
Oh, I still blame my wife for the war in Iraq because she's still driving an oil consumer car, and I don't know if I'll ever talk her out of it. And I always say, I have a vote. It just doesn't count.
And your wife won't have a choice because nearly every country in the world has mandated electric cars.
Yes,
Now, if you
so
get
will
Norway with a population of the size of Toronto, that doesn't mean a lot. But China, there's an issue where
I.
they
And
mandated.
I think once the range increases and the infrastructure is better, I think that the reasons why not go away.
That's
Jim, how much are we going to have these kind of cars? Because I don't hide my weaknesses and everything, and one of the weaknesses is that I don't drive. I haven't driven for a number of years and everything, and definitely I've heard some people say, because I'm 62 now, that if I wait till I'm 65 or 70, it might not be an issue because the roads themselves might be moving or the cars might be moving, and all I'll have to do is get the correct charge or whatever, credit card or whatever. I'll be
yeah, there's
in
some
the moving car and get to where I want to go so I can come visit you possibly on my own without depending on friends or airplanes in 3 to 8 years. Is this true, or do you think I'm going to wait till like I'm 80 or 90?
It's true today, Mark. It's true today. My next door neighbor's son lives in Toronto. It's about 2 hours drive away. He got a self-driving Tesla. He said he just put in his mom's address and sat back and waited to get to his mom's house. The Tesla slowed down where there was construction happening. It slowed down for red lights and so on. He didn't have to do a thing, just sit back. So yeah, self-driving cars are here. And my next car is going to be a self-driving car because as I get older and less capable of driving, better let the car do it. You know, my daughter, my sister, 100 years ago was an elevator operator. All of you remember elevator
Yeah,
operators.
sure.
We had some of those in the term.
So then they put in the automatic elevators, and there were people saying, "I'm not going into that thing without somebody driving it." So a lot of people feel that way about self-driving cars, but they're much safer. People who understand the issue say that the accident rate will significantly drop when we all drive self-driving cars.
No, that's
Yeah, it's coming. Definitely, it's coming.
yes.
I've never seen one on the streets of Toronto yet, but I'm pretty sure.
You couldn't tell if it was a self-driving car. Doesn't look any different.
So people still, the driver wheel still holds the wheel.
Yeah,
what-
yeah.
Oh, so you still hold the wheel? Yeah.
Well, you're supposed to be awake. You're supposed to have
Yeah.
your hand on the wheel, but on the inside, it also looks like any other Tesla.
Can you have a nap in a self-driving
Yeah,
car?
well, you theoretically, the idea is that you should be able to override in an emergency. So you want to be alert and capable of taking action when called for. But I don't think they're there yet because it's still a work in progress from my point of view. But the rate of change is accelerating, and it'll be on us before we know it.
Jim, don't forget that there are drivers who fell asleep in a normal driving car.
Absolutely.
And
Truck
this is
drivers.
more dangerous.
Absolutely. And driving drunk and all that kind of stuff. All of these types are under the influence of whatever. All of these things, contribute to a lot of loss of life. And so I do believe that this is a good development. I just don't think it's here yet. I wouldn't trust it. I can enable my Tesla. It's because it's just software download, but I choose not to.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was a very interesting program today. I would like to thank you so much for contributing, everybody. And we'll see you same place, same time next week. And
Always a pleasure, Sasha.
it will be already October 3rd. Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Do
you.
we have Friday chess show? That was my quick question. Or the Friday taping?
Sorry,
Yeah.
Friday taping for chess show?
Sorry. What's that?
The chess show. Are we taping that on Friday?
taping it. Are we on for the chess show on Friday?
For a chess?
Yes.
Yeah, Friday for
Yeah,
Friday.
at noon. At 11 we have Ukrainian show, and at 12 the chess. Okay.
Okay. I'm
Good.
free this Friday, so I hope to see you there.
Excellent.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye, everybody.